What is up, YouTube? James MTG Biggie here, and today I wanted to make a quick video about some drama going on in the community specifically. Right now, the Pro Tour Hour of Devastation is going on, and this morning, there was some drama on Twitter. I'll start with the first person involved, Oliver 2, who is I believe, Platinum level pro, very good Magic player, but a few months back, he posted a tweet that said nothing more intimidating than being paired versus someone with a Game Day champion playmat. Those who don't know, Game Day is sort of a pseudo-competitive standard tournament that revolves around set releases that are held locally by stores. They're not the highest level of Magic the Gathering competition. They're not the Pro Tour or a Grand Prix. The stakes aren't high, so what this tweet is basically making the assumption of that somebody with a Game Day champion playmat is a lesser than player than Oliver 2, being the pro team channel fireball, very skilled magician that he is. He's basically tweeting out this, saying, I'm better than you if you have a Game Day playmat, and you're not intimidating when we get paired in tournaments and stuff. Kind of a dick move. Very egotistical, very better than you sort of mentality, and collectively put down a lot of players in the community. There are certainly probably more Game Day Championship playmat owners than there are Platinum Pro players. So, like, he took a whole demographic of people in the game of Magic and put them down by saying some underhanded BS like this, via Twitter, of all places. To speak to, like, how this went down or when this went down, the backlash wasn't huge, though Tom Ross was one of the first to chime in with, I use an IQ top 8 playmat for the invitational qualifiers for Star City Games, right? Oliver replied, you weren't qualified for an invitational? And then Tom Ross, I think, summed up the whole thing in one tweet. I had to start somewhere. Basically, at some point, everybody is a scrub. A new player or a younger player or a lesser experienced player. Somebody may have a goal to go to a game day and win a champion playmat. At a certain point in the game, when you're playing it, you're that guy. You start at the kitchen table or with your friends or at the game store on Friday Night Magic, and if it is something you have aspirations to do, you work your way up. And for him to say that people are lesser than him is just a bad look. So he got called out on it months later by Irwin. Those who don't know Irwin, he is a Magic the Gathering content creator. He hosts a podcast on YouTube and Twitch called Magic Mics every week. He's been the longest running, consistent Magic the Gathering YouTube content creator ever. He kind of paved the way for a lot of the Magic community inside and outside of YouTube. He also helped start the Star City Games Open Series of tournaments, helped organize a lot of their tournament series there while he worked for them. He also now works for Cool Stuff Inc. down here in Florida locally, runs Cool Stuff Inc., their marketing end of things, and I believe their sister website, Gathering Magic, and is seems like a pretty important personality in the community, and always seems to keep it at least somewhat real. So he posted this tweet. He was written an email or a message or a DM on Twitter that says, hey Evan, I just wanted to let you know that my friend is playing in his first Pro Tour right now and was too embarrassed to take his Game Day champion mat to the Pro Tour, partially due to Oliver's comments. He eliminated Oliver from day 2 in round 6. So this message to Evan, that Evan reposted on Twitter, basically explains that this dude's friend is at the Pro Tour and was ashamed of his Game Day playmat and knocked Oliver 2 out of the Pro Tour, which is amazing to me. That is hilarious because it is one of those things. Like, Oliver had to go and say some shit about game day playmats and gets knocked out by a dude with a game day playmat. That felt a little embarrassed because of stuff that Oliver said, right? So, Evan, along with this message that he screen capped and sent with this tweet, wrote, "Today's lesson, stay humble. Hashtag Pro Tour HOU, Hour of Devastation," right? After he posted this tweet, a pile of pro players and personalities in the game and stuff kind of jumped down Evan's throat about it. Helene Bergeau said yes, but shaming a person for past mistakes weakens your message. And then Evan replied, "Oliver expressed no remorse for his previous actions. He is young and needs to know that those actions have consequences like these." And then, like, Christian Calcano jumped on with a big tweet about how Evan is shaming him. John Finkel jumped in and said, "Oliver deserves an apology from you. It's not cool to specifically attack someone like this, nor revel in their misfortune." LSV said Oliver was and is a dingus, but I agree with John here. This comes off as real mean-spirited and petty. William Jensen jumped on. Tom Martell said some stuff. A lot of pro players, all of which are likely friends with Oliver too, jumped into the conversation defending the dude. And some other people randomly, other Twitter folk and players jumped in, some of which were pretty fair-minded and level with it, but many of which were like, kind of like, you screwed up by sending this tweet, Evan. Which is silly to me. It feels like it turned into like the best friends club, right? Obviously, if John Finkel and LSV and Christian Calcano and all these dudes know Oliver 2 and are friends with him outside of the game and outside of playing with him at the Pro Tour and stuff, they're friends, they're going to come to his defense and his aid. If somebody had been critical of a friend of mine, I probably would defend that person, right? But I would also probably call out my friend if they were being an asshole. That, and like, Evan kind of just put it very simply and very decently, like, stay humble, dude. Like, keep yourself in check. Not to say that Oliver 2 hasn't contributed to the game of Magic. He's a very good, skilled player. He is... I'm not entirely sure that he makes a ton of content to contribute, or write articles or create videos for Channel Fireball. I believe he does. I'm not entirely sure. If he does, it's not as often as a lot of other pros. But if I'm comparing the two people involved in this, I have Oliver 2, who is a pro player who is young and obviously has a lot to learn about life, not just within being a pro player of Magic the Gathering, who seems very cocky and very self-righteous and very egotistical and has a lot of these personality qualities that are kind of shitty. On top of that, he also was disqualified from a Grand Prix. I believe it was for allegedly trying to bribe an opponent into conceding to him so he can get extra pro points or something along those lines. I don't remember the entire story of it, but was disqualified from a Grand Prix. And then he's making tweets like this. So if I'm looking at who is a bigger part of, or a more important part of, or a better contributor to the Magic community, that's Oliver's resume. He's a good player. He's kind of a dick. And then Evan Irwin is a dude that has been creating YouTube content for Magic Gathering for longer than literally anybody else. So he pioneered that. He started the Star City Tour, that series of tournaments that have become kind of a launching pad for a lot of very skilled players in the game. He, like I said, runs Cool Stuff Inc. He makes weekly content. Personally, I've had some interaction with Evan for a while before I jumped on YouTube, I was looking to start creating content somehow, and my first instinct was to try to write and have some articles published on a website. And I reached out to a handful of them, one of which was Evan Irwin at Gathering Magic, and I messaged him directly and asked if he had any interest. And while I was obviously turned down, because I'm basically a nobody in the community, even less so then, or more so then, I was nobody in the community, he was very encouraging and very nice and very cool about it. I basically was like, hey, I think I have an interesting take and could write some interesting articles for your website, a little bit different than anything that's out there right now. And he said, while I'm not looking for any more content creators, you should do it anyway. You should write anyway. He was very encouraging and very decent dude to me. And I did, and I wrote some articles for a website briefly that it then shifted and kind of pivoted away from Magic content so much. So I don't any longer. But it was very encouraging and also very inspirational for me to get into YouTubing and stuff like that. His weekly podcast that he hosts, Magic Mics, is always talks about stuff like this going on in Magic, and is always very critical but very fair with Wizards of the Coast, and will call them on their mistakes and their BS, but also praise them when they do something that deserves it. And this is just a case of him calling a dude who has a spotlight on him in the game on some BS. And he got attacked for it. And I don't really want to take sides on this, but it's kind of clear as day that he didn't mean any direct harm to Oliver 2. I don't feel he owes the dude an apology, other than, like, I'm sorry that you're learning this lesson from me. And I'm not judging Oliver 2. He might be a decent kid or a good guy deep down, but he needs to try to make an effort to show that publicly, I think. It's not a good look for that dude, and I feel like it's kind of silly the amount of backlash received just by all these pros pointed at Evan. It kind of feels like very cliquey and very best friends clubby. And while Evan, they're claiming he was shaming Oliver 2 about this, about his misfortune in losing to a dude with a game day champion mat, Oliver 2 shamed an entire demographic of Magic players. Those who aren't the top tier pro, grinders or GP winning, pro tour top 8ing, well-known, semi-famous, because fame in the game of Magic the Gathering is kind of silly, but famous players or whatever. When you say something like, oh, it was real intimidating to play against a dude with a game day playmat, you're shaming a whole group of people, where Evan not so much is shaming you, but kind of trying to help teach you a life lesson. So I hope that Oliver gets this life lesson, and I hope that Evan doesn't try to backpedal on what he said. It doesn't seem like he is going to. It is interesting to watch from the sidelines. I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall when Oliver 2 read this tweet, just to see the reaction. Because while I don't necessarily like drama, I will absolutely, watch drama from the sidelines. And I think when it's important to comment on it, and when it's something like this that is absolutely ridiculous, having an opinion on it is important, and not backpedaling from that opinion. So I'd like to know what you guys think. What are some of your opinions on this? Do you think Oliver 2 didn't deserve this sort of treatment from Evan Irwin, or do you think that it was absolutely justified? In my opinion, Evan Irwin, not to say he can do no wrong, but he's done a lot more for the game of Magic than Oliver 2 has, if I'm being honest. That being said, I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys again very, very soon. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you think. I'll put a link up here you can click on to subscribe to this channel and some other videos you could check out if you're interested. I look forward to hearing from everybody, and I'll talk to you again soon.